Hello, Silver community. It's Sterling Cannabis with you once again. And today, I'd kind of like to do a little follow-up on yesterday's video. I had a number of questions in the comment that I'd like to address in maybe a little bit more complete way. And I think this is the only way that I can do it. So, first of all, my buddy, Savage Stacker, made a comment about liking my knife and asked if I could show it off a little bit. But look at the carving on the bone. I mean, that's carved. I don't know how they did such a good job. I mean, it must be a CNC machine or something that does it. But just a gorgeous, gorgeous job. And then you've got the etching on the blade that goes with it. And it's a perfect reverse on each side. And then you've got this like hatching work. That's got to take a little special work doing that. But this knife came to me from my sister. 5 years ago, my sister had spent most of her life, 40 to 50 years, living out in the Olympic Peninsula in the state of Washington, in Beaver Forks area. 5 years ago, and she got sick probably a decade ago. Got COPD. 5 years ago, it was stage 4, and she couldn't do it on her own anymore. She needed help. I had walked away from my career a few years before because I couldn't ethically do what I was doing anymore. I'd learned too much about drug development, and I don't have very good feelings about it. And I was making good money, but I was doing something that I think was evil and not good for society. And so I walked away from it when I was 55 years old. Financially, not a very smart thing to do, but I moved from downstate up here, and I figured I'd find a way. And I was doing okay, but like I said, 5 years ago, she got a hold of me and said, I'm not doing so good. I need help. Can I come to Michigan and live with you? Now, it's my sister. Oh, she came here. We got this house here. And made it good. She had a good life here. About a year and a half ago, she got sick and didn't make it. Now, this knife was gifted to her from one of the natives that she knew who made it out there in the Olympic Peninsula. And so this was a handmade gift from a friend of my sister's to her for being a friend. But then when she passed, I got it. And so this knife is really, really special for me. I mean, it's not only beautiful, but the reason why I got it is very special to me. So that was for you, Savage. I hope you like the knife. It is pretty nice, and it's holds a really, really good edge. And then I got a number of questions about the Mexican gold. And so I wanted to kind of try to go through this and explain it a little bit. I've only got 3 of the 6 pieces, but what it really does do, I think pretty much, is it gives me a way to explain these coins because there's some real interesting stuff about them and some total similarities. Now, this one, the Dos Pesos, is the only one in the bunch that has the writing, it says Dos Pesos, no picture. And then on the other side, these flip just like our coinage. It has the eagle. Now, this goes back the better part of 70 when I learned this. But when I first started taking Spanish in the 3rd grade in school, we learned a little bit about Spanish history. And that eagle, if I get this correctly, part of it I might not have, but there was a group of people that became, the Mexicans, which was a mixture of Europeans and natives that had come together and made a group, and they were somewhat nomadic. And they were traveling around central Mexico, making their way, and their leader had a vision from God in a dream that he would find an eagle that was killing 2 snakes. He has one in his bill and one in his tail, and you'll see it better on other coins, sitting on a rock in the middle of the lake. And these people, they were besieged by the natives. They went out into the middle of this lake and built from that rock an island that they built their city on. This is Mexico City. Now, I don't know if any part of the lake is still there. The city has, it's huge, huge city now, but it's grown well beyond that. But the emblem that on some of these coins, I think it's the obverse. On some of them, I think it's the reverse. But this one, the only face on it is the face of the eagle. So, is this the obverse? And the other the reverse. But this symbol is on every one of their coins. And that's one thing that really, really makes me like them, is because half of it is a message from God. Now that is a 2 pesos. A 2 pesos has 0.0482% of a full ounce, or in other words, 1.5 grams of gold in it. It's 90% purity. I believe that the copper content in this is higher than it is in the AGEs because they're a little redder. Probably a little less silver, a little more copper. The thickness on it is 1.02 millimeters and the diameter is 13 millimeters. Now, the obverse has the snake, or the eagle with the 2 snakes, mouth and talent, and on the reverse, it has the Dos Pesos. On a 2.5 pesos, it doesn't have the Dos Pesos. It has Hidalgo's picture on it. Well, Miguel Hidalgo y Cristal was president of Mexico, but I'm not sure exactly when, but he was hugely popular with them. But the 2.5 pesos has 0.0603 of a full ounce, or 1.88 grams of gold. Again, a 900 purity, a thickness, it's a little thinner than the 2 at 0.86 millimeters and a diameter of 15.5 millimeters with the obverse having Hidalgo's picture on it, and the reverse has the eagle with the two snakes. The 5 pesos is 1.205 of an ounce, or 3.75 grams. Again, a purity of 900, a thickness of 1.14 millimeters, and a diameter of 19 millimeters. Now the obverse and the reverse on it are exactly the same as on the 2.5, except for it says 5 pesos on it. The 10 pesos, which I have here, has Hidalgo on the obverse, and it has the eagle. And with this one, you can probably make out the snake in the talent as well as the one in its beak. But this is 0.2411 of an ounce, or 7.5 grams of gold. It has the purity of 900, a thickness of 1.4 millimeters, and a diameter of 22.5 millimeters. The 20 pesos, or 20 pesos, this is probably my favorite coin that I own, period. I do kind of like the American gold buffaloes a little bit better, but this, I mean, look at it. It's got the Aztec calendar on it. It's 0.4823 of an ounce, or 15 grams. Again, I'm not sure if the obverse changes over to the eagle on this one because there's no face on the other side. But again, it is a 900 purity. It has a thickness of 2.05 millimeters and a diameter of 27.5 millimeters. But that calendar, that's what really, really does it for me. And then, on the final of the pesos, which I really cannot do much for you on that one, but it's a 50 pesos, or 1.2057 troy ounce, or 37.5 grams of gold. Purity, again, 900. The thickness on it is 2.69 millimeters, and a diameter of 37.1. Now, the cool thing about the 50s is on the obverse, it has winged victory. The same figure that's on the libertards today. When these things were first made was in 1921, on the 100-year anniversary of the liberation from Spain. They were meant to be a large, they are a denominated coin, but they were meant to be a large currency. But I don't think that they ever worked out real well, maybe because of the size, whatever. But again, I mean, that one, it's got these symbols from God on it. I really, really like that. But if you didn't notice, in all of the numbers that I shot at you, from 2 through 50 pesos, they are completely 100% fungible. 25 2 pesos has exactly the same amount of gold, silver, and copper as 150 pesos. And it's that way all the way up the line. They're perfect. U.S. silver constitutional is far from. I mean, when you say the term constitutional, a lot of people will separate out a couple of things. War nickels and silver dollars, and just dimes, quarters, and halves, because those are fungible. But war nickels actually have the highest concentration of silver per face dollar, because a dollar in war nickels is 1.11 ounces of silver. A face dollar of dimes, quarters, or halves is 0.714 of a troy ounce. A silver dollar is 0.77 of a troy ounce. I mean, are we good at math or not? I don't know. I think the Mexicans had it right. But anyway, I think that their gold is beautiful. It is 90% gold. You know, so I mean, if you have to have the 4 nines, maybe this isn't the stuff for you. But to me, no big deal. In fact, it makes it a little bit more durable. And I'm kind of a klutz, so that's probably a good thing. But at any rate, get this stuff as you can. I think the time for having it is coming close. And remember this, as Benjamin Franklin said, if you are willing to give up a bit of your liberty for a bit of safety, you deserve neither liberty nor safety. Love you guys.